Morning, Nevada and friends across the US and in Mexico. Welcome to Nevada's first annual World Trade Week, organized by the Nevada District Export Council with collaboration, of course, with the US Department of Commerce, our friends at Nevada GoEd, and quite a few other federal and state partners. This session, as I mentioned, is recorded. Our goals for this session, which is exporting successfully into Mexico, is to provide you with the reality-based information when exporting into Mexico and getting through the Mexican customs flawlessly. To kick things off for Nevada, we invited our colleague Manuel Velasquez, everyone knows him as Manny, from our US Embassy in Mexico City, to provide us a straight talk about exporting into Mexico and the situations that arise when dealing with customs. I've asked Manny to provide a short conversation to better enable US exporters when dealing with getting products, solutions, and or services across the border into Mexico. We left plenty of time for Q&A. In fact, we've actually pulled a few questions ahead of time that we think will give you a clear explanation of situations that you may face or have already faced, unfortunately, but certainly we'll try to avoid when exporting into Mexico. If you do have questions, please put them into the chat and I will read them to Manny to answer. If by chance we run out of time, Manny and I would love to chat with you about your customs issues and how to clear your shipments into Mexico. Manny, the floor is yours. Let me X out of this and take it away.
Thank you very much. Let me share my presentation that is right here. Just let me know. I think it's right there.
Yes.
Well, I just want to make a clarification. I'm located in the glorious city of Monterrey, no, in Mexico City.
And Manny, how far is that? How far is Monterrey from Mexico City?
Bien lejos. It's very far away. Like probably, I'm a 2 hours from Texas, for example, and Mexico City is in the center of Mexico. It probably is in car is probably 12 hours by car, and by plane is 1 hour. 1 hour and a half, something like that. Yes, you're welcome. Well, let's talk about the custom. Can be a very interesting topic because for some people can be a nightmare to work with customs, and when they say I don't want to export to Mexico anymore because I have a very bad experience. And I always say that if you have the right resource, you can make it very easy, or at least very smooth to export to Mexico. And I want to tell you, this is like a Mexican, it's like a class, very super basic information, just in order that you know the basics. And if you need more detailed information about your product or how to export to Mexico, just send me an email to Hector or to me, and I'm more than happy to help you to provide you information and resources and explain you how is the import process in Mexico. Well, let me tell you how the Mexican import process works. In Mexico, only Mexican entities, whether a corporation or a person with a Mexican tax ID, that in Mexico is called RFC, are the ones who are authorized by the Mexican government to import into Mexico. Why is that? Because it's the Mexican importer, the one who must comply with customs and fiscal regulations, paperwork, and must be registered in SAT, that is the Mexican IRS. And because of that, the initial scenario, and I think the best scenario in almost all the cases, is that the Mexican take care of all the import process. The US company just going to place, or they're going to send the product to the border, and from the border, the Mexican importer is going to take over from there, and the Mexican importer is going to be in charge to contract a custom broker, explain to the Mexican government why it's important, or the information of the product that is importing, comply with the requirements, comply with the labeling, and everything is going to be from the Mexican company to the Mexican government. This is the situation when is this kind of import process, is when the Mexican is in charge of that. The responsibility of the U.S. exporter ends at the border. In this kind of cases, when the Mexican in charge of the import process. There's other situation that is the door-to-door delivery. This is very common when you imagine in a company who find, I don't know, someone like Walmart Mexico or Cemex or Telmex or a big company, and the big company or a big retailer say, I don't want to handle anything related with custom, but I really like your product and I need your product in my warehouse here in Mexico, be in charge of everything. In that case, is the US company the one who are making a door-to-door delivery? How is going to make that happen? Because like I said before, just Mexican companies are authorized to import into Mexico. Mexican company who has the tax ID, Mexican tax ID. In that cases, because like I said before, if you are exporting from United States, doing a door-to-door delivery, you need to contract a comercializadora or a custom broker who has a comercializadora, and then the comercializadora that is a Mexican entity, and in many cases is a branch of the custom broker or is a service provided by the custom broker. In that case, is this comercializadora is the one who is going to comply with all the requirements before Mexican government. And then you send the product to the border, and the custom broker import the product, and then the comercializadora go with the Mexican government, say, hey, look, I'm importing this product in behalf of this US company, and I'm going to pay all the taxes, I'm going to make all the compliance, and then the comercializadora send the product to the Mexican importer. And there's other good thing here for the Mexican importer, because the Mexican importer is going to receive a Mexican invoice, and then they don't want to have any kind of problem related with the import process. Obviously, if it's an import product, this is other thing here. In all the import operations, the company must to keep the records at least 5 years records, because when the SAT make an audit in this company, the company can provide information about all the import operation that they have in the past. And then this is why they need to keep this record at least 5 years. This is the situation. Then the trading company is responsible before Mexican government, like I said before, to comply with the entire official paperwork, complies and provide a Mexican invoice to the client, paying the value added tax, among other responsibilities. And the trading company, like I said before, is a branch or an independent unit from the custom broker or freight forwarders. Then this solution scenario is very common when the company is exploring the Mexican market. And then sometimes for companies who try to make the e-commerce can be also a good opportunity, but also can be expensive for them. They need to check very well with the custom broker and with the trading company if it's a good deal for them. In this solution scenario, in almost all the cases, the US exporter is the one who is in charge to pay all the costs involved in the import process, just in order that you be aware. If you put the Ecoterm, DDP or almost DD, that is delivery duty paid, at the buyer plants, is one of the Incoterms that means that you're going to be in charge of almost everything. Then here
Manny,
is it.
quick
Yes,
question.
sir.
On
Yes,
that
go ahead.
point, if the US company is in charge of, like in that example, almost everything,
Mm-hmm.
the US company has to work on getting the paying all the taxes, the permits, or whatever's needed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, it's true. Because it's through the custom broker and the trading company, the way that they're going to comply with that.
Is that where you see a lot of issues when US companies are trying to do that on their own?
Yes.
Without
Yes,
a
exactly.
without a Mexican customs side of the
Yes.
equation?
Yes, sometimes they don't know, and they send the product to the client. Imagine, like I said, a big company or any company, the company say, I don't want to handle the Mexican company, the client, and the client in Mexico say, I don't want to handle anything related with customs. And then the US company send the product, but they don't know that they are going to be in charge to comply with everything, even the labeling.
Right.
And because remember, like I said before, is the Mexican company in the original way, the one who must comply with the requirements.
So in that
And
case, then if the Mexican client doesn't want to deal with any of those issues, whether it's Walmart or someone, they just want an invoice, then the what you just mentioned, either they have a Mexican importer of record, or they do it on their own, either by hiring door-to-door delivery, or they do door-to-door delivery on their own. Correct?
No, no. In any case, they are required to work with a custom broker and in a trading company when
Okay,
they are doing the door-to-door delivery.
got it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And then for that, actually, this is something that I really like to talk with when I have this kind of opportunity to talk with the sporters or people who is going to talk with the sporter. That for me, there are three secrets to know the future and overcome delays and the complexity of the customs issues. And the first one that you need to know is to know the HS code of your product. If you know the HS code of your product, you have the halfway to make it easy for you. Look, if you want to know in advance about all the permits, requirements, taxes, duties, norm or standards, restrictions, and eligibility of your export to Mexico, the best option is to check with a custom broker the HS code of your product prior to sending to Mexico. Be aware that the HS code used in the United States can be different in Mexico than the one used in the United States. This is why it's important to work with a custom broker for a proper classification of the goods. This is very common that the company send the product to Mexico without knowing the requirements. And I received that calls that I really don't know what is it so complicated and it's super complex and I said, do you talk with a custom broker before that? No, I didn't know that. And the shipment is stuck on custom because of that can be one of the cases. And the second secret is to contract. The key factor is going to be the custom broker. Look, Mexican importers and exporters can dispatch their goods through an authorized legal representative inside of the company who meets certain technical requirements and who has certain degree of experience. However, customs broker can clear products through Mexican customs. Keep in mind that Mexican customs regulations are very strict and really are very strict and demand to the importers to follow them with extreme cautions. All commercial imports into Mexico, whether they are temporary or permanent, can be executed by a qualified and authorized Mexican custom broker. Also, you can work with a custom broker in the United States, can be in both sides. But in this case, the Mexican custom broker is the one who can help you to classify your product. We talk about HS codes. And like I said, in the HS code area, sometimes the HS code that you use in the United States can be different in Mexico. And the one who is going to help you on that is the custom broker because he's the one who has the resources to make the classification of the product. Then this is why it's important that you work with a well-known custom broker. And the third one is in like an advertisement for the commercial service is U.S. Commercial Service solving problems at Mexican ports. In the event that a shipment is detained or rejected, or if the importer, if the company has general question, just ask Manny. Until now, is free. We are not charging for these questions. Then, if you have questions about customs, just let me know, and I can help you with the details and check what is the potential solution scenarios. But I think this is the most important information that you need to know is to know your HS code, work with the custom broker, and is more complex. Of course, is imagine there's involved permits and probably you need to work with depending the kind of product that you are selling to Mexico. If you are selling, for example, 1 hour before we were hearing our friends from my friend Jasmine Rojas who was talking about cosmetic. If you send products that falls in this category, like the product is made by powders, gels, liquids, or creams, some is a product that is not easy identification products, then you require a test lab or you need to provide special information in order that you can import that product. Even the product is just $12 or it's a sample or something like that. This is why you need to work before with a custom broker and review these kind of things. Or for example, you are sending steel from United States and you send it, you think it's very easy to send it because we have the USMCA, you send it there and suddenly it's stuck in custom because you forgot to, you didn't send the certified mill from where is made that steel. And or for example, if you are sending a temporary product for an export from Mexico to United States or other countries, happen that. But yes, this is one of the things that you can see. I don't know, Hector, you want to make a question?
Yeah, and you just mentioned a temporary or permanent item that's coming into Mexico. Can you clarify what is temporary and what is a permanent product solution service?
Yes, of course. For example, when we're talking about the maquiladora or where export from Mexico, for example, the automotive industry, in many cases, they require a product that is going to be assembled in a bigger product, or is going to be part of a bigger equipment or product that is going to be resent to other countries. In that case, the product that is imported from United States is going to stay in Mexico just a few months or weeks because it's going to be part of a car or a computer or other kind of products, and then you send them back. This is a temporary import. And when it's a temporary import, the company must be certified to not pay the value-added tax. And when it's temporary, that import, there's some benefits for the companies who made that imports, because supposedly is to promote the export from Mexico to the world. And the definitive import is when the product is going to stay here in Mexico, and then these kind of import into Mexico, when it's definitive, the company, the importer, must pay the value-added tax and all the requirements, comply with all the requirements required by the Mexican government, requested by the Mexican government. This is the difference between definitive and temporary. And also, just as a temporary, there's other situation when you are coming to Mexico to show your equipment, you are importing this equipment as a temporary equipment. You're going to show the equipment to the can be in a trade show or probably in a particular company. You bring your equipment with you, and you show the equipment and show to the clients, and then you take back to United States in the same condition. This is a temporary import also, and you can have some solution scenario for that. Can be the ATA carnet, or can be when you bring some equipment that you want to work with that equipment to make some work here in Mexico, like, I don't know, any kind of tools, and you take back this equipment with you, and you don't pay any tax for that using the ATA carnet or working with a custom broker who help you to bring the equipment, the tools into Mexico. I don't know if you have other question or was clear. Let me know, and I can explain more in deep if you require more information, Hector.
Okay, no, continue. I believe you have another slide, right?
And the last one is, here is my contact information. It just was like a shots. I'm a TikTok generation, and I want to keep it simple. And if you have any question or any comment, more than welcome.
Yeah, Manny, actually, coincidentally, we do have a question on the someone Valina Hernandez wrote, and it was exactly the same question I was going to pose, which is in regards to samples. Her question is there an export process specific for samples? And I know last week, everyone, Manny and we spoke about this in great length on what the issue with samples into Mexico, and Manny, if you can also remind everyone about the values that companies put on there and what happens to those issues. I think that's all encompasses samples.
Yes, this is one of my favorite topics, the samples, because and more for the Mexican side. You imagine there's a company from Mexico who go to a trade show in United States and see a table. Imagine a table that the value of the table is $1,000, and the U.S. companies say, this is a very good opportunity because these guys sell to many companies. Take the table and take it for a sample. It's for free for you. It's no, I don't want to charge anything about that. This is going to be a sample in order that you can promote my product inside in Mexico. Go ahead. And then the importer make this mistake, import the product as a sample. It's a sample for the Mexican importer, and it's a sample for the U.S. company, but not for the U.S. company, not for the Mexican customs agency, because when this is the most common mistake, the Mexican importer in many of the cases, when they must place the value of the good that are imported, and because they don't have any charge for that. Imagine, like I said, this example of the table that is $1,000. They say $1, no commercial value. For the Mexican government, that is not important. For the Mexican government, that table, the value is $1,000. Why you are putting $1 if it's $1,000? And then the Mexicans say, because it's a sample. And then the Mexican government, yes, it's a sample for you, but it's not a real sample. In order to be a sample, the table must be tear or break down in some way and have a big label that says sample. This is why you see in some products, this is a sample in big and it's tear or it's broke. But when you are importing something as a sample, you must import as a regular import and pay all the taxes and comply with all the requirements. This is the situation with the samples. And I have a lot of situation where the U.S. company send the samples to the Mexican importer, and they say, well, the Mexican told me that is zero value or $1 value. But it's wrong. This is the situation with samples, with the discussion on samples. There's a case by case situation there. I don't know if it was clear.
Yep. So basically, what I'm taking from it is that you need to place the real value of the product on the sample. And what about if it is a sample? Then is a company being charged for that product to enter Mexico, even though it's going to be, or would it depend if it's temporary or permanent in country?
Yes, exactly the same. For example, it's the sample in this case, if the sample is going to stay in Mexico, like I said, this example of the table. If the table is going to stay in Mexico, because it's like I'm going to give you this as a gift in some way, in order that you can promote the product among Mexican company. Here is the deal is going to be the negotiation between the Mexican and the U.S. company, who is going to be in charge of the import process. And the one who is going to be in charge of the import process is the one who's going to pay that. If the U.S. company is doing a door-to-door delivery for this sample, then the U.S. company is the one who must be in charge to pay, contract, and comply with all the requirements. But if the Mexican who is receiving this table for free in some way is the one who is going to take care of all the import process, taking the table from the border, and from the border comply with all the requirement and pay everything. Obviously, there's a way that there's some samples that is going to not pay nothing, and it's going to be no value, commercial value. But like I said, it's very specific. That is like when you put this big label that says sample, and it's in some way broke or tear the product. And this is the other thing that you make the question. If the sample is going to stay in Mexico, then is the Mexican the one who is going to import it, and then is going to say to the Mexican government, this product I'm importing this product, and it's a temporary because I'm importing with the ATA carnet was a temporary import. They work with the custom broker. I'm going to return this sample, this equipment in 6 months, and they can expand that to 12 months, but they need to talk with the custom broker and Mexican government.
And to finish that point with
Mhm.
Valina, if this is the Valina that I know, then her product is a liquid in
Uh-huh.
liquid form. Is there an issue with samples? Even though it's a sample, it'll be utilized, so it's going to stay permanently in Mexico in this case.
No,
Uh,
in this
Go
case,
ahead.
it's going to stay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Just is it an issue with if it being a liquid, because you mentioned about
Mhm.
liquids and gels and powders?
In that case, it's going to be you must to work with a custom broker to identify the HS code and check what are the requirements. And if the requirement is, you need to provide a lab test, or there's some tricks, legal tricks. Obviously, this is everything. If you are exporting something under $50 value, probably in some cases they can pass without checking anything if it's under $50. And this
Even
is
if
the
it's a
way,
liquid?
even if it's a liquid, but you need to check the nature of the product, because it's different if you are sending something flammable or like uh, some solution for water with salt, for example. But you need to check very well with that with the custom broker, because it's depending the chess code of the product.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. And there's another question. It says, for parcel shipments, what
Okay.
is the de minimis value that a
This
parcel
is
shipment can have to avoid import duties?
well. I talked a little bit just some minutes ago. Is under $50, you don't pay anything. You send the product, and it's a little bit. There's a controversy here because uh, if coming from United States, you can send anything under $50.
And Manny, real quick, as you're
Hmm.
explaining this question, parcel shipments, that means using a domestic service,
A
a
courier
U.S.
company.
domestic service?
Yes, a courier
Oh,
company or the U.S. Postal Service.
okay.
There's
Oh,
something
sorry,
very
continue.
interesting. I don't know if you are familiar with this. If you send something from U.S. Postal Service in United States, then arrive to Mexico, and then the Mexican Postal Service is the one who take care of this shipment. There's a negotiation between Postal Service, U.S. Postal Service, and Mexican Postal Service that can end the operation. The problem in Mexico is that sometimes the U.S. Postal Service is not so reliable that we can think, and take a lot of time. And this is why a lot of companies or a lot of people send their products through a courier company. But you need to be very aware of this. If you are sending something that surpass the $1,000, you need to work with a custom broker. This is one of the things, because it's by law. After you pass this amount, you need to work with a custom broker. But like I said before, that the minimis is under $50. Under $50, you can send it without no problem. Obviously, if it's something like it's no easy identification product, probably you're going to have some problem there. If it's powder, liquid, spray, gel, all this kind of stuff, probably you're going to have a situation. And the other is, if you surpass from $50 to $117, you pay 17% of general tax for that. This is related to the minimis. But here is very interesting thing. You need to check very well if you are working with a courier company, and you need to check with them before to send the products if they have the bandwidth and the knowledge once that arrive to Mexico to send them to the client, because I have everyday situation that they send through a courier company achievement. And then in the United States, they are super eager to help them. And once they arrive to Mexico, they're stuck in the customs, this courier company warehouse, and say, you want to require this permit, you need to label it in Spanish, you need to comply with a free sales certificate. And the Mexican importer didn't know about that, and the U.S. company, pues menos. They don't know how to handle that kind of situation. This is why you need to be aware to work with a courier company. There's some kind of product, there's some kind of shipment that you can send it through courier company and nothing happened. But this something that surpassed the $1,000, or there's a product that requires special permits, you need to check that with the courier company and with a custom broker.
Okay. And if there's anyone that's on the phone that doesn't have access to typing in questions, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask a question to Manny. And if we're talking, it's okay. Go ahead and interrupt us because we can't see you on your cell phone. So by all means, interrupt as needed. As we wait for an interruption, I have another question for you, Manny.
Go ahead.
And this is dealing with, I guess, a sample. We found out now that a sample is actually, yes, it's a sample to us, a sample to the client, but to the Mexican authorities, it's not. It's a product. So what happens when a product that's going to cost you a couple of $100s to fix all this paperwork, when it's really, I know the company has to make a choice whether they want to pursue and get it out of wherever it is. But being that it's, say the product is $100 and it's going to cost you a couple of $100s to get out. You mentioned last week about when a product is abandoned. What that process is, and do you get in trouble for abandoning a product?
It's very common that, for example, this case of the parcel company, it's a U.S. company that send their equipment through this courier company, and when I arrive to Mexico, they find out that they need importer record, a Mexican importer record, or they require a NOM that is a standard thing. And for the standard label or standard requirement or standard compliance, they need to go with a certification unit that is like UL, something like that, similar. And this is going to take more than, imagine the equipment the value is $100, for example. And just to obtain the requirement from UL or in Mexico is like $1,000. Then the US company say, no, I don't want it. I don't want to handle anymore this kind of export. And they leave them in the courier or custom broker warehouse. And that causes abandon. And nothing happened. You're just going to don't want to receive the payment of that equipment. And but yes, it's very common that happen because they don't know the requirements and they let them then. But there's no I don't know if it's the right to say penalties. There's something like some kind of
a penalty.
Penalty, that's the word. Thank you. The penalty against to the importer or the Mexican or the U.S. company. Remember, in almost all the cases, is the Mexican importer the one who is going to receive the penalty, because is the Mexican the one who must comply with the requirement before Mexican government. Okay.
Gotcha. Again, anyone on the calls, jump on in. Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
I have two other questions that came up.
Okay.
Let me see. How can I obtain a list of U.S. custom brokers that are working with Mexican custom brokers?
There's some ways. For example, I have more information from the side of the Mexican custom broker in case that the companies from the United States wants to explore, for example, these that we are talking about, the door-to-door delivery. I recommend you to work with a U.S. custom broker and Mexican custom broker. I have more information of Mexican custom broker because I'm more in charge of the Mexican side. But there's many cases that the U.S. custom broker works with CAREM, that is the confederation of the Mexican custom broker, who has this deal with U.S. Custom broker. And actually, in this kind of business, for me, it's very interesting and very dynamic because there's some kind of amalgama. I don't know how to say it in English, but this kind of
you got me.
Yes, I don't know how to say it, but it is kind of that we are super together. It's like a plastiline. I don't know, when you put together two colors is more or less the same. The custom thing is custom broker sometimes has
Leticia Aria said synergy.
Like synergy, exactly. This is very nice
Synergy.
word. Yes, there's a lot of synergy between the Mexican custom broker that in almost all the cases they have an office in United States. You can see Laredo, that is the custom broker in Laredo, Texas, has the office in Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, and I think it's the same. Probably our friend Vigil can explain a little bit more about that, or can show some information about that. But like I said, is they work together. In many of the cases, the U.S. custom broker has a partner in Mexico to work.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from our guests on the line? If not,
hey, Hector, this is Mike Barling at RingCon. I did have a quick question. So RingCon is, we've been doing business with companies in Mexico, and primarily our customers are communication service providers. So we sell, telecom equipment to these companies, and we sell both new and refurbished equipment.
Oh,
and
okay.
one of the questions I have is related to NOM, and when importing equipment that we're not the manufacturer, we're just reselling reconfigured and tested equipment that's coming out of decommissioned networks here in the U.S. to companies in Mexico that want to buy it. Is there a database where we can acquire NOM certificates for products that are they're already made by like Cisco or Juniper or Nokia, major companies? Is there a library of NOM documents that we can access, or because those products are already being sold in Mexico? It's the same item, but without having to go and have all these parts retested by ourselves. I'm wondering if I'm sure it's already been done. Can you point us in any direction on that?
Sure. And actually, let me tell you something. This is one of the treasures that I have is the list of HS code that you require to comply with the NOMs. If you know the HS code of your product, and we can check, I have a list with all the HS codes that require the official list with all HS code that must comply with the NOM compliance, with the NOM regulation. But like I said before, you need to check your HS code with a custom broker. If you are super, I'm super sure that this is the HS code that is used in Mexico, you can send the HS code to me and I can tell you, here is it, all this the NOM that you're required to comply with that. But yeah, there's an official list for that. And but obviously, probably the NOM isn't a requirement that this requirement must be complied by the Mexican importer. If you, for example, if you are in the United States and you say, I want to make all the compliance for NOMs, at the end of the process, you pay everything for the NOM compliance to obtain the letter that say your equipment is complying with the NOM, for example. There must be a Mexican holder of that NOM in Mexico. Is the Mexican the one who is going to take over that NOM, for example, the specific NOM? This is why you need to be very sure if you are working with your distributor or is going to be your only client. But yes, it's a way to obtain that information is there, an official information.
As a quick follow-up question, so some of our customers require us to provide either import or record services, and so kind of two things. So historically, we've been using a third party to act as the importer of record on those scenarios where we have to do DDP and have an IOR for a customer. Just recently, RingCon has established a Mexican entity.
Okay.
Can we? Yeah. So from a transfer across border, both buying equipment in Mexico and bringing it back here, or buying equipment in the U.S. and selling it into Mexico, can we act as our own, like do an intercompany transfer of assets across the border from RingCon USA to RingCon Mexico?
Yes, here is going to be part of our second part about the Mexican 102.
Exactly, Manny. Mike, perfect question, because And I'll just interrupt Manny right now because we're both laughing because on Thursday and Friday we were discussing this. There is a third option, and I'll let Manny get into it. But remember, the first option for everyone is the Mexican importer of record, where the Mexican entity will assist in getting all the documentation with the help of the U.S. exporter. Then the second one's door to door, and then the third one, which we didn't talk about because it is a exporting 102.5 session that we're going to do with Manny, and it's having a Mexican LLC in country, which you now have, and I'll let Manny continue on with that.
Yes, just let me tell you something. I don't want to sound like bureaucratic, but we are the U.S. Commercial Service. We support companies who export goods, U.S. Made goods to Mexico in this case, and then we try to promote the export to Mexico. And this is our main focus. If the product that you are exporting is not from the United States, is like I don't know many things about that. My expertise is with U.S. made products to Mexico. This is in the case that just as a disclaimer in this case. But we're coming back to the Mexican LLC, is another super good option. For example, if you are for Amazon people, for the people who sell through e-commerce, and can be your case, that you have a Mexican entity, and can be your custom broker and an accountant firm or a legal firm in Mexico who can help you to establish a Mexican LLC. You don't have presence or physical presence here, but you're just going to have your accountant and your lawyer and your secretary, for example. And these guys going to, with this, they're going to create a Mexican entity, and they're going to ask for an importer of record, and you can be reckon the Mexico SA, the RL is the way that we call in Mexico the Mexican LLCs, and you can obtain the Mexican Tax ID. That is going to be the key factor here, because you can provide a Mexican invoice and receive the payment of the value-added tax, that the IVA, and then you can keep it here in Mexico or send them back to the United States. But it's a little bit complex, but if you have the right accountant or the right legal advisor, and sometimes even the custom broker can help you with that. There's some custom broker who has a lot of services, and one of them is to help you to establish this Mexican LLC that is going to help you to expand your operation in Mexico. And this one is going to help you if you are selling more in Mexico, if you are in the second level of selling in Mexico. I don't know if it was clear. I hope yes.
I think Mike mentioned that they already established.
We're already set up. We actually just completed that whole process. Now I'm curious about intercompany transfers across border, both from Mexico to the U.S. and U.S. to Mexico. If we going forward use our Mexican entity to sell to companies in Mexico, we already have our Tax ID number.
Right? Okay. And
can
you
transfer? Can we ship equipment from the U.S. to a facility in Mexico, receive that as an intercompany transfer, and then sell it to our customers in Mexico, pay the VAT, and just deal with it as a Mexican entity?
Yes, just remember that you need to obtain your importer of record, going to SAT, to Mexican IRS, and request for your importer of record. Se llama Padrón de Importadores in Spanish. The Mexican importer of record is you need to talk with your accountant or your lawyer there, and your legal representative can go to the Mexican IRS, to the SAT, and request for the importer of record, and you can do it in that way, import. And obviously, if you already have the Mexican Tax ID, you can provide the Mexican invoice and make the import and selling in Mexico.
So, I'm sorry, Mike. I have a follow-up question on that. Just to make sure I understood, even though it's the RingCon, like it's a subsidiary, it's a different company, but within RingCon, we still need to treat it as an import into Mexico. Like it's not like a simple transfer of goods. It's considered an official importation.
Yes, this is an import other operation. It's because you are importing in Mexico. Mexico is it's a Mexican entity now.
Okay.
Okay. And if you have more of a specific question about your equipment, just send me an email and I can review it more in depth.
We have time for one more question. So anyone on the calls that we can't see, or someone that wants to put in a text, you're more than welcome to.
Just in the meantime, if there's someone, is there a very good change? And remember, in Mexico, the customs broker, the customs issues in general are some kind of dynamic. It's a very dynamic topic, and there's a lot of changes. And even if the Mexican government is saying, "Hey, I'm going to change the norms, I'm going to change the labeling issues," that sometimes the U.S. exporter didn't know about that. And so then they say, hey, there's a change in the Mexican regulation. Yes, the government said 6 months ago, and but sometimes they don't know. And this is why it's important that you talk with your client in Mexico, the importer, if something changed. And obviously with the USMCA regulation, there's some changes. For example, in the past, it's a mandatory that you, in order to claim a special treatment for your good made in the United States, you must comply. You must comply with the certificate of origin. Right now, is a non-mandatory document. You can put it in an invoice. But in any case, there's a lot of customs broker and people who works in these topics that creates their own form, because you must comply with some details. And this is important to know in advance. Or for example, there's something that is very common, that there's some mistakes in the understanding of this. Made in United States does not mean originated in the United States. And this can be difficult sometimes for some companies that send their certificate of origin and say it's made in the United States, and suddenly it appears, or there's an audit from the Mexican SAT to the importer, and the Mexican IRS ask to the importer, hey, provide me all the information about this product. And they find out that the components are not originated in the United States. They're going to take off the benefits of the USMCA and going to put in a fine on the company, in the importer. I don't want to scare you, just let you know about this kind of situation that is happening here.
Thank you, Manny. Yeah, that's excellent. Go ahead, finish up, and
Just the idea that you need to be aware, if you are in this industry, or if you want to know more about this sector, always have this resource here with us, with Hector or with me, to let you know what is happening in the customs.
And real quick, Alan Vejil, who's out of San Diego, he mentioned to Mike that transfer pricing, Mike, you should have your finance department do a transfer pricing analysis. Alan, I know you've worked with us in the past in our San Diego office. If you care to elaborate, you're more than welcome to. And if you want to provide Alan your email address, that's also helpful too. You guys can have a conversation or post it right here on the chat. That way everyone has it. If you look on your screen while you're doing that, you look on your screen, we do have a few more events. Today's the only event I had it special just for Manny, because there's a lot of Nevada companies that export into Mexico, and I hear a lot of this sampling questions. I sent the sample, it's stuck. So I thought it made sense to just start off with Mexico and only do Mexico customs for today. Tomorrow we have Peru, connecting with our colleague Jorge Prado. And then right behind him, we're gonna have Paul Duncan out of Exim Bank Irvine to provide updates on Exim Bank and the services that they can provide. And again, Wednesday, we have Nigeria, our colleague Benedicta, and then top it off on Thursday with Nevada's Governor's Office of Economic Development. And those of you in Nevada who are applying for STEP Grant 2022, there's 42 other states in the US that will be receiving a STEP Grant. So reach out to your local person, trade specialist like myself and Alex Holmgren on our call that can help you to see if your state also received a STEP Grant which is free money to export internationally, to get you out there to attempt to export. We can't travel right now, or to a lot of countries, but there are a lot of virtual services that can be provided. Manny, last words.
No, just if you have any question related with customs, permits, requirements, UFOs and ovnis, just let me know, and more than happy to help.
And Alan put his email down here, avejil@grupo-logistics.com for Mike. Oh, I see Mike, you said thanks already. All right, we're good. Everyone, thank you very much. Manny, a pleasure. If you have any questions, please email. Manny, if you can put your screen up just one last time. That way it closes with that.
Let me go and put it there.
Now, if Manny's a busy person, he's covering the entire US. So those, it's always helpful to engage your local trade specialists from our office, the US Department of Commerce. That way we can ensure that Manny is providing a service to a company that is manufactured in the US, does have the content requirement. It just makes things a lot easier. So thank you, Manny. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay. Thank you. See you then.
See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.